Welcome to the IAB video series, where I'm going to be interviewing people from the world of business, sport, people who can motivate, inspire you, add value to your business and life. Well, today I have the great pleasure of interviewing a guy called Andy McGhee, who I met on a speaking event. And he's an ex-soldier. He's now an athlete, coach, and speaker. And what he says for seems like 2 lifetimes. Andy served in the British Army, and after 14 years of service, left to become a strength coach, which he's done for the last decade, opening 2 gyms and coaching some of the best sailing athletes in the world. Coaching has always been one of his passions, starting as a canoe and kayaking coach, and then leading the British Army first descent of the Pyrenees, which is quite fantastic. Representing GB at an age group athlete, running and cycling from Morocco to Southampton. We're going to speak about that, which is just unbelievable what he did. Are some of his achievements. He still feels surpassed by the passion for raising children's charities by undertaking ultra-endurance challenges. He says life as a soldier, becoming a leader, a businessman, has enabled him to pass on his experiences, ups and downs, to facilitate lifelong change. You're going to love today's interview. He's a genuine guy. Let's go over there now. Andy, welcome to the podcast, sir. Good to see you here.
Yeah, and you, Simon.
Oh, it's podcast and a video is now. It's a new IAB video, but we're putting all these podcasts out on video because it's maybe, you want to be able to see the people I'm interviewing and see me with my particularly weird hair today. So Andy, all about performance, you're ex-military, and tell the listeners and viewers some of the crazy stuff you've done. And I want to sort of get into the heart of this, or the brain of this, about the mindset, about when you come across difficult times. It could be in your business, could be in your personal life, but I'm a great believer in what you do outside of work. If you push yourself, you get out of your comfort zone, you build huge resilience, and then you can take that into other areas of life. So tell us what kind of some of the crazy stuff you've done.
I think to firstly start off was, is I get asked a lot, why? What makes you do this? What comes with it?
Why?
Yeah,
why? Are you completely mad?
And I think it always turns back to me. It's funny, this one. It's totally out the box. You probably not expect it, but it goes back to the, I was born in 1978 in Germany. My dad was in the military. And obviously, there was a lot of, during the Troubles in Northern Ireland. And I just remember as a child going through the sort of late 70s. Obviously, I don't remember that, but going through into the 80s and early 80s. I always remember as a family, we used to hide around the corner, and my dad would creep up with one of those telescopic, mirrors, and he would do the check under the car and do his, we had a brown maxi. It was great.
Plastic I remember those Austin Maxis. Gosh, revolting colours they were.
Yeah, and I remember he would just walk around and he would check it for bombs, and then and then we all used to get into the car, all the kids, and then my dad used to turn the key. And I always remember that being a huge anxiety for my father.
I bet, yeah.
Turning the car, knowing, because during that time there was a lot of car bombs, lot of car bombs in Germany, and I think going through my life, going forward into everything I've done, I just remember turning the key. It's going to be okay. You only have one life. Live it as such.
Yeah.
Not too crazily. I'm not a nutter or anything like that. But yeah, that's all. This always comes back to that point, really.
That's and then amazing thing to be growing up with. Wow. So I can't imagine what that must be like. The anxiety of that, whether the car's going to be there and you're going to be 30 feet up in the air in bits and pieces. Yeah, that's huge. So I
mean, we got lucky and we went through it, and then I always remembering that story when I joined the British Army in the sort of mid 90s, and I did basic training, and you have to do a lot of nuclear, chemical, and biological warfare training, and they used to send you into the gas
suits,
yeah, the old hazmat suit. Have you been there? It's funny. Well, it wasn't at the time, and I always remember they used to do this really nasty thing in basic training where they'd line you up there, light the CS tablet, lock the door, and then one of the instructors would you'd have to change a canister. And so you take it off and you put it on the floor, and then they take one away, and then you're like going down to find it.
Oh my
So
word.
you've got these 6 people trying to find a canister, and one wouldn't have that. So one's getting on, the other person's choking. Although you're not going to die, of course.
Yeah, but it's violent though, isn't it? I mean, you're vomiting, and because it's everything, it's awful.
Yeah, it gets to your eyes, and they get on. And I always remember that triggered back to then thinking, I'm not going to die here. I'm just trying to, just happy, just going through that process. Yeah. And I think that's where it comes back to the story behind me wanting to do, and where that sort of resilience comes from is just the history. I would say the resilience would come from the history of.
Well, yeah, you've had that. You've started, absolutely, you've had all that. So, what has made you? So, tell us more about the sort of the adventures that you've done and are planning.
So, when my son was 2, it all started from when my son was 2, and he had an asthma attack. He nearly died, and he was on the resus table. And cut a long story short, he recovered really well, and I wanted to pay it forward for the NHS staff that looked after my son and me during that process. So I went back to my work, and at the time I'd opened my first gym, and I was like to Dan, I'm a soldier. I need to do something to pay it forward for them. And it ended up being that I would do 7 marathons in 7 days, back to back, barefoot. So
hang on, let's rewind. You said you're not a nutter.
Yeah. So it never ended up that way. He was just like, 1 marathon. I know a guy that's done this. And so it ended up sort of being barefoot sandals, those type of things. I made my own ones, cut it out.
Have you read the book, The Barefoot? Is it The Barefoot Runner?
Yes.
About the tribe.
Yes.
Yeah, amazing, isn't it?
Yeah, and I bought that book actually not long after, because someone had mentioned it. And I thought, I'm going to go on that. So I done that. And then a few years on, I just wanted to, when you do endurance events, like, and you've been there, when you do crazy stuff that are out of the box, I know this now, but when you do them, when you go on that journey, there's a bit of a problem, because you get what I call like a post elation response. It's a bit like what next and the emptiness.
Yeah. Yeah.
And that's a real problem when you go on that road. And I know that now. I really do know that now. But after the barefoot running, I then felt that empty, not really knowing at the time. And then I decided that I would try and run and cycle from Morocco all the way back to Hamble in Southampton. Yeah. Amazing. So in comparison, and you should never use the word Ironman because it's obviously a brand, but it's a bit like doing 10 of them back to back. Yeah. Wow. So done one of them. Were
you swimming in that, or was it duathlons?
Just run and cycling. So I would run,
really kind of thing. Yeah.
Yeah, I'd run 21k, cycle 160 kilometers, and then I'd run another 21k. And I did 10 legs all the way back from Morocco. Wow. So we hop, skip, and jump a few things that you can't ride through Madrid. So we sort of took these legs up and thought that was good. And that was absolutely wild. And what happened and the things we saw, talk about the nature, Mother Nature, it definitely, was an experience doing that challenge.
How long did that take you?
I did it in 10 days.
Wow.
So it was 2,040 Ks of running and cycling. So we thrashed it down there, smashed it back up, the heats, the mountains. It was incredible. Sierra Nevada, it was the Pyrenees, the Basque Country, then it all started to flatten out when you got to Bordeaux. You flick around the side of France. And then running in was just an incredible experience.
And when was that? What year was that?
That was 2019. Wow, so October 2019, that was.
And obviously not much happened last year because 2020, good old, we don't include that.
Yeah, so sort of realized that, this post-elation response was a bit of an issue for me, and I have the bug for it. So my wife, bless her, deals with it, and she's agreed that I can try and attempt to do 25 back-to-back ultra duathlons in September next year.
Wow. Well, we'll have to get you back on to see how you've done, and follow you as well. So what kind of things have you learned about yourself, the mindset? Because I know when you do any ultras or anything like that, I know I've gone into the head and you just, what is going on? And there was a great line I quoted before this, but it has a swear word in it, so I won't use it. But it's, if I can mention it, I'll just leave out the swear word. It's I was telling you I was doing, because I then did it was a 28-mile, I think it was just a training run, but ended up being 28 miles and something like 6,000 feet of climb, or even more than that. And it was I've never run through such mud before, and it was all around I don't know if you know North Wales, the Slin Peninsula, and it's just brutal, absolutely, the weight of mud on my feet. But I remember that you get to those stages where you really you've got nothing left but you have, and your mind will always give up before your body. And I remember an old trainer of mine once said, "Simon, have you ever crossed the finish line and absolutely collapsed and have to be cut off to A&E?" He went, "No." I said, "There you go. You've got more to give." And that's always stuck with me. So when you've done your these amazing events and you've had to dig deep, where have you gone? What have you used to get you going again?
I think you, like in your book, I read that, the FOMO.
Yeah.
And I would say it's not the missing out, it's the fear of failure.
Yeah.
See, it comes back to me, again, it going back to childhood, and I think it's the same for all of us, I think, is that, I didn't have the best upbringing in the world, and that I had no education. I had nothing. I left with a level 1 typewriting diploma.
Probably more than me, to be honest.
My dad had moved around for many years in the Royal Air Force. They then took me from an English school, chucked me in a Dutch school.
Wow.
I'm sat there. Gratefully, they all speak English very, very well.
Yeah.
So I'd really learned nothing from that. So I didn't really come out with anything. So when I joined the British Army, I think it was it's me fighting with myself, really.
Yeah.
That's what gets me through it. Your experiences, of course, and we all have them, don't we? The checking for the bombs, the gas chamber, I don't want to fail. And I think now is you just want to make your children proud of you. And for me, that's what gets me through.
Yeah.
All of the army training and the going on tours and all your life experiences, it really boils down to the fear of actually failing.
Yeah.
For me.
And if you did fail, how would that be?
I think I would cope with it, because I failed many, many times.
Yeah. Good. Someone once said, you fail forward. If you're not failing, you're not trying hard enough. You won't succeed, really. It's true.
And I think that's what it is for me. I know I'm going to fail things. I fail on many occasions, but I think all of that process and the pain you go through, and you nailed it totally when you said, did you die over the line? When I came back from Morocco, I was exhausted, but I didn't die.
Yeah.
Which is a good thing.
So, absolutely. Having this interview now. Yeah.
So, it is good to try and I just love wanting to give back, I think.
Yeah.
I think that's my only way of giving back.
Do you think that's part of something you want to leave as your legacy?
I think partly without making it a pure emphasis on it.
Yeah. And it's also something that you can inspire others to get up and take action as well. Do you think that's an element of it as well?
I think so, in my job that I do in day to day.
Yeah. Yeah. You run a fitness company. Yeah. Yeah.
Yeah. I have a pretty large gym. It's 5,000 square feet. Got absolutely amazing members. Hardly any drop off. So you really, really get to know them, and it's a bit of a family. And
I would say, Andy, that you're, as I think, leading from the front. And in what I do, I try and show, my business is split up into one of them is an adventure, because I ask my clients to step out of their comfort zone. If you're going to build a business, and certainly if it's your own business, it's about pushing out there, getting out of your comfort zone, and you're clearly doing that. So I think the members see that. There's nothing worse than having you running a fitness company and actually just be sat on your backside all day. I mean, my doctor, I might have told you, amazing guy. He's younger than me, but he's just done an Ironman abroad, and he finished it in 10.5 hours. I was like, wow. So if people don't know, an Ironman is 2.5 miles for 2.4 miles swim. What was it? 120 odd mile bike ride?
112
mile bike ride, and then a full marathon. He did the marathon in just over 3.5 hours. Having done all that, so it's not 3 days, it's all in one event. You've got 17 hours to complete it, and he did that. And I'm thinking, that's the kind of person you want as your doctor, who's just, you don't want someone who's really unhealthy, doesn't look after himself. And I think that's what you're doing. You're showing people, look, this is what's possible, and that is what you're doing. And people think, wow, look what he's doing. I want some of that. And I think that's really one of our members, Caroline Metcalf. She's got a personal best for a marathon. She then did a half marathon, got a personal best literally every week. Then she did another 10K. She got a personal best for that. So all this stuff is like incredible. Now you go out there and tell your clients that, and people listen to this, bookkeepers and accountants, but they're like, wow, so you're doing that as well. You kind of want to slice of that energy. You want to be sided with someone. If you go out and, you wouldn't buy from a manufacturer that actually sees themselves as a bit crap, not very good, they break down. You want to side with someone who's out there, and that energy, you want to part of that, because even if you maybe don't have it, I want to come to your gym and go, yeah, but look what Andy's doing. And you feed off that energy. And I think that's really powerful. So leading from the front. Yeah.
Yeah, I think, I always remember someone, and you've just alluded to it. It is good to lead from the front, but it's also good to, empathize with all levels of leadership and ranks, and I remember one of my members saying to me, "Why are your hands and knees hoovering the floor, Andy? You should have why are you doing that? You should, got to remember that, you run the gym. They want to show that example." I said, my example is that I care.
Yeah,
I really do care. If I have to scrub this gym every single day to make it work, then I will do that.
brilliant.
With a toothbrush. Well, maybe.
Yeah, no, that's going back to the army days. Painting coal white and stuff like that.
That is very true.
Yeah. Okay, so so it is about, so is there anything that you've used, that you found in yourself during those amazing events, that you've taken into sort of ordinary life or business life?
Yeah, I suppose when I do them, I process a lot about business life. I find running that does that a lot. If I'm having a bad day, or things aren't falling into place, I will actually go out, for that run to clear my head, so I can put things in perspective a little bit.
Yeah.
But really, for me, it's about me trying to learn about myself and putting it in perspective for me.
Yeah.
That I have my challenge and you've got your challenge. There's no comparison.
Yeah.
It's just about you processing what you need to do. And I think, I try and use the challenges in a certain aspect to help me help others.
Yeah.
To go through what I go through, but it's very hard to do that, though, isn't it, if you haven't been out the box yourself?
Yeah. I mean, it's inspiring. I mean, I get a real kick out of speaking to people like you, because it's, you are out there, grasping the world, and showing your kids and members and everyone else that comes into contact with you. And it's lovely. I always say, don't look for more followers, look for more leaders. Inspire people. And someone once said to me, actually, because I said, serving your clients, and someone said, well, I wouldn't serve them, because that means you do it for them. Inspire them, and they do it for themselves. So I think you're a perfect example of that, inspiring people to go further.
Yeah, when it's a bit like, some would say, how did you go through the pain? And
Nurofen.
Yeah, I mean, all kinds of stuff going on, isn't there?
Yeah, absolutely.
Yeah, how do you go through there? How do you mentally do that? And I'm thinking, you know, I do, because there's a lot of things going through my head. And I'm processing everything we've already spoken about, and that gets me through the pain.
Yeah.
My pain tolerance might be totally different to that other person's pain tolerance.
Yeah.
So again, it's like putting it in perspective, isn't it? You know, I'm sure if I came out and done what you do, you know, you're taking me out of their comfort zone. I'm scared of heights. You know, when I used to go to North Wales, you know, we used to go and do a bit of, you know, traversing. You know, that was always something that I find that, you know, I find extremely scary.
Yeah.
That there are a lot of psychological limits.
Yeah.
But there's a bit of a problem though, isn't there? Because when you do one challenge of, you know, like just like you have, there's only one way to go, isn't there?
Oh, the next one is the next one we are planning now is London to Beijing on the motorbikes. 13,000 miles. Yeah, that's huge. And you go at altitude, you ride some of the highest roads in the world. So there's a lot of things. There's roads that you go on that aren't roads. It's just mud and ice, and it's bonkers.
Just the thought of that, you know, like you say,
yeah,
sounds like chaos.
It's a bit mad, yeah, but again, I think, as I said when we first met, you know, have stories to tell, not things to show. You know, it is brilliant. And when you were talking about the pain, when I did that, this is about you, not about me, but you brought it up.
Yeah,
when I was doing that 1,000 miles in 24 hours challenge, I remember on the motorbike and just thinking, oh, my wrists are really hurting because keeping the throttle open and my lower back. I'm like, oh, this is just, I could only do 2.5 hours at a time before I'd literally 10-minute break, back on the motorbike, and off we go again. And I remember just thinking, this pain is temporary. The lady I'm raising the money for, her pain is permanent. And that really, like, oh, shut up, Simon, just get on with it. You know, that really helped. I kept that in mind. You know, when we were riding through the dark, through the night, it was just like, oh, it's cold and there's mist. And we were down at Land's End, all these bloody rabbits everywhere. Go away. But just riding and thinking, this is cold. The cold seeps in. Doesn't matter how many layers you've got on, the mist finds its way. And again, this is temporary. This is only temporary.
I remember you've triggered me now, actually, to want something else to happen in my, you know, it's probably loads we both have in our life. That I always remember when, again, another army story, but I remember chopping my finger off, and only half a finger, it's fine.
Oh, right, okay.
And I was, you know, whinging. I had my mates come round and they're like, oh my God, mate, this is horrendous, you know. And I'm like looking at my finger thinking, you know, I've only got half a digit, you know. And then a guy walked in with no hands.
Yeah. In
the smoking room. I mean, naughty boy back then, but yes, it was, you know, he walked in with no hands, and yeah, okay, Andy. And then I didn't.
There's a beautiful line which says, I cried because I had no shoes. Then I met a man with no feet. And that is just as you. I've got a finger missing. Yeah, and there's a guy with no hands. So it is all, obviously people's own pain is their own pain, but when you try and step out of that, you think, actually, and I again, we talked about gratitude before. When you underpin your life with gratitude and look at the people out there, you know, the more gratitude is alliances, the more gratitude you will have more come into your life to have gratitude for. And it's so true. So, and
that's why I literally cannot wait to put the jigsaw together for my next challenge.
Yeah.
Because, you know, you learn from the last one. A lot of crazy things happened in my last one, you know. Maybe a time for another day, but there's a whole plethora of stories and heads that you had to help through, you know, what we were doing. You know, it was a big challenge, and you know, certain people can tolerate, you know, a certain amount, but others can't.
Yeah.
And you know, I dragged everybody into my world.
Yeah.
Expecting to be like me, travel down to Morocco, and come back up to handball and it all be tickety-boo. How wrong was I?
Yeah.
How wrong was I? And that is my mistake. I'm to blame for that.
Very interesting, actually, just briefly, because we'll start wrapping up. I've got 3 more questions for you, but they're quite simple. Or are they? But regular listeners to this will know what I'm going to ask. A friend of mine we do a thing every year, it's called the Fundamentals. It's a big webinar series, and a friend of mine is going to be speaking at the last one. He's sort of we always have a motivational speaker. It's a week of webinars, and he was the first Brit to swim all the 7 channels around the world. So English Channel, you know, all the huge, I mean, going through China, he said it was just bonkers. And he's saying on the boat, everyone has to be positive, absolutely everyone, because if you're swimming, and he said if one person was their energy was slightly off, he'd pick up on it, and it would just send him spiraling. Oh God, do they think something's wrong, or do they know something I don't? And he said everyone, if you were going to stand at the edge of the boat and look at me, you have to be on form. So everyone had to be a certain way, because if anyone's like a bit negative, oh, I'm fed up with this being sick, he would then feel I'm responsible for them, and he would then take his mind off what he was supposed to be doing and why he was doing it. And it's just, so yeah, going with that, you know, it's dragging people along and being part of it. It's not always easy. I mean, I had 2 guys follow me. I was going to do the latest adventure on my own, but these other 2 guys came along. One guy almost come off his motorbike. He nodded off, and he went to the central reservation. The bike's gone. Thinking, oh no, I'm going to come off, and he held it together, and it was fine after that. But still, you know, it's like if you're going to be part of the team, get up to speed. You know, you've got to be on it. You know, it's so yeah, it is a big ask. So I completely get that. So, but I think if you look at business, you know, if you're going for a business, everyone needs to be on board. Everyone needs to be on board with the mission statement and the belief in where the company's going. And that's what we have at the IAB. That all the staff members now, it's totally different from when I first came in. It was all different people, and it was quite stuck. But now it is absolutely motoring forward. And it's beautiful to see, and everyone buys into the message, and everyone's on board, and everyone's moving with it. Because, you know, it's such a cliche line, but you're only as strong as your weakest link. But it is, in a team event, if someone's not up there, you know, it can have ripple effects. Yeah.
I think doing that challenge, and one of our members mentioned to me about, you know, where he thought I was going wrong in my business, is that we were trying to recruit trainers. Just a little example, we were trying to recruit coaches. And, you know, it wasn't working out so well because, you know, they just weren't, and they never did things the way we done it.
Yeah.
And I think what worked really well from the Morocco trip, and actually having the right people around you, that we just started taking people from the university end and trying to mold them into your professional bias, your culture, because it's good to be different. I love different people. It's great.
Yeah, they all bring stuff into it.
But in business, when you want everybody to be on the same song sheet, they all have to have the same mindset as you.
Yeah.
So it's worked out really well. We've got 3 of them now come through university. They're really happy, and it's almost seamless now, because they, like you say, they have the same vision as you, and they totally get where you're going.
Yeah. They might have not be exactly the same. You've got to be the leader. You're going to be taking on responsibilities and stuff like that. But everyone needs to buy into it, because they are your brand advocates as well. So it's important. So 3 last questions. Tell me something not many people know about you.
My real name, my last name is Andrew Hall, not McGhee. I took my wife's name when we got married.
Brilliant. Okay, fair enough. You don't need to go any more on that. I knew an Andrew Hall once, actually. He was a big networking man, wrote lots of books. Your last day on Earth, a bit morbid. So this recording, everything you've created, the gym, all that stuff has disappeared. No longer exists. I can't even find it. Google doesn't exist anymore. So it's your last day on Earth, and you can leave one piece of advice. What would it be?
To, you know, love each other. And
brilliant. It's very similar to mine. Mine was love more, because you love more, you love yourself more, you love what you're doing more, you love the planet more, blah, blah, blah. So yeah, I love that. Love each other. Absolutely. Love that. Right. So that was the penultimate question. So the last one is, where can people find out more about you?
I'm
a madman.com. No.
Yeah, I know I have a great, great gym. Andy McGhee coaching.com.
Brilliant. Well, we'll put that on the link down below the video here, and also on the website and everywhere else. We're on Spotify as well. So, Andy, thank you so much for your time. It's a real pleasure. I hope someone listens to this and watches it and thinks, wow, you know, what can I do? It's it is brilliant. It's you know, there's a great line by a guy called Jim Rohn, who's not with us anymore. He's an amazing business philosopher, huge motivational speaker, just really spoke from the heart. And he said, don't wish it was easier, wish you were better. And I just absolutely love that. It's like, yeah, how can I be better? How can I be a better partner? How can I be a better businessman? You know, friend, brother, or whatever it might be. How can you be better? And if you live your life like that, and to what you're doing, so you are leading from the front, and it's a honor to know you, sir. So,
Andy, thank you so much, mate. Thank you.
My pleasure. So thanks you. And that's it. So there's more guests coming up, so stay tuned, and don't forget to subscribe if you're watching on YouTube. Until next time, take care.